Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and thank you for joining us once again for some bonus football as my colleague, my cohort, my pal, my good friend and buddy, the host who doesn't like toast. We haven't said that for a long while. One Mr. Brian E. Roach joins me. How you doing, Brian? How you feeling, man? We've got playoff football, wild card weekend, Sunday, 1 o'clock, CBS. Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Buffalo to face the Bills. It's always good to get some extra football in on the schedule when we can. But otherwise, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. You know, moving things around, changing things, doing stuff in my office.
Oh, yeah.
So that everybody can have a completely different look at the crap load of mess that exists here. And you know who else is going to Buffalo this weekend?
Does he have two thumbs? Yeah, 4 thumbs, 2 for you and 2 for me. Yes. Oh, that's gonna be exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. I've never been there. It's gonna be crazy. There's gonna be high winds. It's gonna be cold. All the Buffalo-y things that we're used to. It's gonna be exactly the way it should be. Some maybe snow flurries as well. So it's everything that you picture when you think of places like Buffalo, Green Bay. You know, no longer Minnesota because they've been playing in a dome. But when you see the old timey, videos, and they've been there. But I was gonna say, Brian, you kept singing off air, and it's probably a good segue for that. The year without a Santa Claus, and Brian's over here,
Mr. Cold Miser.
Well, no, you were doing Heat Miser at first.
Freeze.
I'm like, there's no Heat Miser in Buffalo. It's only Cold Miser.
I know, I'm the Cold Miser, but I'm too much.
You are too much. Hey, nice little got this guy like right there. I saw that. I'm seeing that in the background. I remember. I forgot you got one of those too. Yeah, it's back there somewhere.
Bunch of running medals or some crap.
Who's up in the corner? Mike Webster and
No, what?
Wait, what? I can't see who's there.
It's Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, and Andy Russell is currently hiding behind my Steelers hoodie.
There's like a hoodie blocking the other number. I'm sorry. Yes. Well, it makes a lot more sense for it to be Lambert and Ham.
Lambert, Ham, and Russell. It's that iconic image that you see everybody has. Anybody who's got paraphernalia from the Steelers probably has.
Yeah, they probably do. But you know what? It threw me off because in my view, I could only see 2 players from this angle. Yeah, I'm not seeing it, but that's okay. You can see lots of other things, such as how do you work? You're a madman. How do you work there with like just everything scattered across your desk?
It's not normally this chaotic. I'm still in the process of redoing the office, which is why this is over here now. So like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monitors. There's another one coming.
There's
the
center.
65-inch television up there. So,
I still got a cough drop in. You make me laugh and then I need to cough. My sinuses are still killing me, but I was going to say, you probably have more going on there. You're probably more organized, more technology than the NFL officiating command center that they have for the instant replays. Yeah. So yeah,
they're
definitely.
They're on their phone. Here's them going.
Catch. Touchdown.
Whatever.
Pretty much. I mean, if I could pick like the most random thing I probably have, you've seen the positive potato. Most random thing I have laying around the desk. The positive potato.
Yeah, I've
seen in there. It's like, I may be a tiny potato, but I believe in you. Go do your thing. And that's the way I feel about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The other random thing doesn't segue so much. It's just a smart plug that I have failed to configure. Just laying around.
Here's a random thing I have.
Random.
This right here, this thing. I don't know where I got this.
What's it do?
I don't know why I got this. It doesn't even work anymore.
Oh.
This is, you hold this thing up and you do like this and you look at it like this through places and you're supposed to be able to detect if there's any hidden cameras around you.
Wow. All right. Well, that will come in. That would definitely come in handy.
Is that extremely paranoid? I don't. Yeah. I didn't buy this. I don't even know how I got it. It probably was something my dad bought, and then when I was cleaning out his stuff, I got it.
Did your dad have a habit of wearing tinfoil hats?
No. He did not do that.
I could just picture it be like great, like those movies where they got like the old guy that's been cooped up in the mountains or whatever, and that's the gift he got you. He's living off the grid.
He was one of those guys that he would go like this. He'd be watching TV, and the ad would come on and go, "Call now in order." And he'd go, "Oh."
That don't work. That stuff doesn't work on me. And having worked in marketing for many years, it's kind of like, now we could segue into this game because you got everybody picking the Steelers as dogs in this game. I get it. Buffalo's hot. Both these teams have very similar kind of paths. Steelers getting hot as of late, Mason Rudolph, but the firing of offensive coordinators for both franchises have pretty much landed them into the postseason. We already mentioned weather conditions could make this a struggle, and we're probably thinking that, and also the Steelers are without TJ Watt, but are getting reinforcements otherwise on the defense. So let's look at the first kind of angle or aspect to this. I think I didn't make this correlation before, and I'm going to hate saying this because I also thought that Brock Purdy could turn into a pumpkin at any given time. But this reminds me of Brock Purdy taking over the reins of the San Francisco 49ers and getting them almost into the Super Bowl. And I could see a similar path if Mason could play mistake-free football with the skill position players that he has at his disposal, some better play callers, some better plays that are designed and called overall. If weather does play a factor and they can't throw the ball, or even if they try, a lot of people will talk about Josh Allen, but I'm sure you saw the meme or whatever that was floating around, and they both have very similar statistics, except Allen has 4 interceptions over these last 3 games where Mason Rudolph has the 1. And that's all it's got to take. We know that Allen is very much can be gunslinger like Ben Roethlisberger. So with the Steelers defense minus TJ Watt, the first aspect of this is they do have outside linebacker depth. I didn't see anybody panicking. Not Mike Tomlin, not Jerry Dulac, none of the beat writers. You have Nick Herbig
and Marcus Golden.
And I think Marcus Golden is a guy that could probably set the edge. I know Buffalo in these conditions are going to want to run the football, but I don't know that they are necessarily Allen. Yeah, he's a mobile quarterback. Steelers are built to play mobile quarterbacks. They're built for the most part, I'd say, to stop the run. Still are. I'd have more of a concern with their tight ends attacking the middle of the field with the likes of like a Landon Roberts, Miles Jack, whoever you might throw out there, but there'll be a little more to that too. I do like the Steelers' chances. I know that they don't necessarily win without TJ often, but if TJ gets the rest a week or so and they're able to pull this off, this would be amazing.
It absolutely would be amazing. It'd be awesome. It'd be fantastic to be there, watch them win the game, right? It'll be fun, I think, regardless. I'm taking it at what it's worth. This has been a season unlike almost any season that we have seen. This season rivals the Mason Duck season, except it still had worse quirks and turns in it, right? You had quarterback issues. You had missing linebacker issues. You've had just a flurry of things going on, and the fact that somehow they managed to get into the playoffs. Okay. We talked about this before. Is it a successful season? If they win the Super Bowl, it's a successful season. If they don't, it's not. If they win this game, is it a successful season? I'm going to go back to what I said before. But I can feel a little better, right? If you make a move forward, I can feel a little better about where we may be able to go. Maybe. But maybe it's still so topsy-turvy, right? Who's the quarterback? What if Mason does lead us to the promised land? Is Mason QB1 next year? Going in, he's not even under contract. How do you sign? Right? Forget it. I can't think about all that crap. It's too much stuff for right now. All I can think about is Mason right now is QB1. He's played well. We're going to Buffalo, and we have a chance to win. We have a chance, right? I've expressed this heavily to my daughter and wife. Right now, any team in the AFC can be beaten, right? There is. Baltimore's got the best record in football, right? We beat them twice.
Yes.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Any team in the AFC can be had, whether they're at home or whether they're on the road. They all have weaknesses. They all have strengths. It's just going to depend on execution on any given day and how, how the ball bounces. I don't know how any prognosticator can figure out how to make their predictions on these games. It's been too chaotic.
I started watching out of curiosity just last night on Max, Sebastian Maniscalco. If that's saying his name, yeah, I've seen him do stand up over at Heinz Hall several years ago.
The
bookie, yeah. And he took a bet from a guy. I think it was actually Ray Romano, or resembled it. This is the first episode, so the more I've watched into it. And he goes, the guy's like $12,000 in debt to the bookie, who's Sebastian Maniscalco. And Sebastian says something like, it's like asking Sebastian if he liked the bet. And he goes, it's the NFL. It's very difficult to get 3 things right. He's like, I don't care about your bet, but it's the NFL. He's like, good luck or something like that. And that's the way I feel. Get 3 things right. I mean, who would have thought you went on this like roller coaster ride from the preseason of the promised offense and the promise of Kenny Pickett growing, and then Kenny Pickett getting hurt, to learning that, to shutting up all the people who were Mitch Trubisky supporters, to also silencing the naysayers of one Mason Rudolph. His turn, he could be done after, Sunday. What if he has an absolutely terrible game? There's no guarantee he's going to come back. And will anybody use any excuses like weather, snow? I mean, I already saw people dogging him for how he played in the rain, and the dude, like, he only had 2 passes that hit the ground. You know what I mean? And he almost could have thrown a pick on the one. There was a lot of these snaps that are flying around everywhere, the handoffs. But I'm hoping that at least you're not dealing with the same, because anything with conditions, right? When you're dealing with weather, football, it could be a fickle thing. And running the football, I think, is one of the great equalizers when you get into the latter parts of the season and into the postseason. December football, now January football. And the Steelers happen to have 2 exceptional backs, whereas the Buffalo Bills, they have James Cook. We mentioned Allen. Allen threw for 4,300 yards and 29 touchdowns. He's no slouch. But Joey Porter Jr. is playing better than practically any cornerback in the NFL right now. We said at the beginning of this season, put him in. It's amazing how this is all kind of, we said, put Benton in, put Jones in, put all these guys in. Now Herbig's up, and Herbig could have a chance to shine. And if Herbig is enough of a pain in the ass to the Buffalo Bills offensive line, that's going to open up Alex Highsmith. Don't forget, he was given a Brinks truck of money because he's capable of doing some things on his own too. You still have Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton. But I'm looking at that secondary, like I said, the tight ends, because Buffalo, you're going to have to throw the ball a little bit. Steelers are built, and are they going to force you necessarily to throw it? No, you don't want to get beat by the big play. We saw what happened last year. We're not remiss to remember how you got spanked in Buffalo, but this ain't the same Steelers team. You wish that a few components were there, such as some of the inside linebackers and everything, but they're not. But guess who comes back? Guess who you haven't had for like 3-4 games? Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's huge. And in losing Minkah Fitzpatrick, you've learned that Patrick Peterson has been able to hold up his end. You've learned that Eric Rowe probably going to start with Minkah. That's my, it seems like Mike Tomlin is now all in on what it takes to get win, stack these wins, right? He's rolling with Mason. You've got Minkah. Let's see if Death Row is going to start here. DeMonte Casey's coming off a suspension. He's saying he hopes that he's in football shape for this game. I say play Casey and play Peterson as like your big slot type guys, and take Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid out of this matchup. Joey Porter Jr. should follow. Did I say somebody's name wrong? Did I get someone wrong there?
I was laughing at myself for moving into the middle of the frame.
Oh, I didn't even notice. You're always in the middle. I'll just leave you up, and then everybody we could sync my voice to you, Mr. Cold Miser. But anyways, get rid of you got the tight ends covered. We'll see what ends up happening on some of the injury reports here with the various wide receivers and stuff. But Stephon Diggs, you follow him around. You're taking away some of Josh Allen's weapons. You've got a lot of different safeties that are capable of moving up and playing certain roles and stopping the Buffalo Bills. They do have Leonard Fournette as another part of this that they moved up from the practice squad last week's game, a 1-2 type punch. But I think this game is just This is a game, I think the Bills and the Bills Mafia, their whole fan base, the Steelers are the one opponent they probably wanted to avoid because now the reinforcements are all coming in. They're very fortunate TJ Watt isn't there because I'd be a lot more bullish on what was going to transpire in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, if TJ's there, you can't help but be a little more, a little more confident, right? There's a guy who can wreck the game. There's still guys in here who can wreck the game. The thing you pointed out and the thing that I agree with, one of the key elements that's different between this team and the team that got spanked last year is the cornerback play, right? Joey Porter, who I think will be the jersey that I'm sporting at the game. Joey he's just played tremendously. Yes, you're going to get the ticky-tack fouls. You're going to get some pass interference calls. But I think for the most part, he's played so far above the bar of what a rookie is expected of a rookie that, you feel confident that enough that he's continued to follow the number one receiver around the field. If you can buoy up the other side of that, if you can find a way to not get hurt by tight ends, right, across the middle and slot receivers across the middle, then, there's no reason to think they don't have a chance. I was watching some of the other, predictions and some folks talking about this game. And I've heard people like, oh, yeah, it'll be close. And then the second half, it'll be all Buffalo and we'll lose by 15, right? I don't think that's the case, right? Look, if they fall way behind, then they're in trouble. Even with Mason, they're just not built to come back, right? If you make this team one-dimensional and know they're going to have to throw, it's probably problematic. If you can keep the game close, run the ball effectively, which, again, Buffalo has a very good defensive line, right? Ed Oliver is a beast. They've got other guys as well that I don't remember their names because I don't pay attention to Buffalo. But
well, I do, and I could shout out some of those names here on the depth chart. And let me get that for you. I was pulling them up, actually. Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, and, of course, Von Miller. And they also have Leonard Floyd, Tim Settle, Linval Joseph, and A.J. Epineza in that rotation. It's
Linval Joseph deep. Was one of the other ones. I know he's not playing much, but and hasn't played the last couple of weeks. It's a big dude and can be a run clogger if he's able to go and play. It's a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. Their run defense hasn't been the best. Their pass defense hasn't been the best. They've suffered injuries on the defensive side of the ball. So can they be had? Sure, they can be had. But the same is true of us. We can be had, right? It's really, I think this is a moment where what my hope and expectation is that some of the guys, the veteran guys like Larry Ogunjobi, guys like Minka, guys like Cam Hayward, especially Cam and Larry, who know that their careers are not on the upward path of the hill, but on the downward path of the hill. There's fewer years ahead of them than there were behind them. That they need to seize these opportunities. Cam hasn't had a sack in forever, right? In several games. He has, I expect those guys to play at a higher level than they have recently. Keanu Benton should follow along with that, right? I expect some inspired play from the front seven. And if that happens and they can contain Buffalo and keep the game close, there's no reason they can't win this game.
Yeah, and I mean, Von Miller, not the Von Miller that we were all used to either.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Von Miller, they gave this guy like a huge contract the year before to bring him in, and I know players want to play on Super Bowl type teams. He's played about half the game. He was inactive just the week before against the Patriots. He just had a veteran day of rest. The rest of this injury report, some veteran. A lot of veteran stuff and things not to really point out. I mean, Josh Allen was on here as a full participant. Deion Dawkins with the hand limited. Gabe Davis is a big one to look at when we're talking about the matchups because that definitely will impact Stephon Diggs on the other side and also out of the slot. You also have Rasul Douglas with a knee as well as Leonard Floyd. He got a vet day of rest, though. Douglas is one of the starting corners, so that's a pretty big one. Let's see who else further down. Von Miller, vet day arrest, and then Taylor Rapp. I think that's supposed to say a calf injury. It looks like got cut off, but he's one of the reserve DBs, safeties. That's with that great pair of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. But outside of that, no more Tre'Davious White. So at the actual cornerback depth, I'm sorry, I do have a cough drop in. One of these days, I will be at full strength too. It's been like this for the last part of the season, right? Yep. For me. So Buffalo's looking to wins a little bit. No Matt Milano. You know, they lost Terrell Edmonds' brother, Tremaine, in free agency, and Milano just to the moon. I always thought pretty highly of him. I didn't think that highly of him. And he had a hell of a season, maybe overachieved before getting injured. So that's a tough guy to kind of replace too. When you look at the Steelers side of the injury reports, day of rest for Patrick Peterson. Najee Harris with the knee, as we know, that crept up late in the week last week. Minka is full. Minka has went on record saying to various beat reporters that he probably could have played last week, that he felt good enough, but they held him out an extra week. Landon Roberts, limited, as we know, is trying to lick some wounds, as is Isaac Suamalo with his shoulder. TJ Watt already ruled out for this week. Days of rest for Cam Hayward and Larry Ogunjobi. So those are I almost feel like on the radio they're like, there's your injury report brought to you by blah, 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 blah. I don't have it. Brought to you by Joe and Brian.
Brought to you by the Cold Miser.
Brought to you by Cold Miser. Too much. It is too much when TJ Watt's on there. I like JJ putting out that tweet too that had him photoshopped in a jersey. Like, think they'll notice. Do the old switcheroo like they do with the masked wrestlers, or the Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan with the dual referees.
A little bigger than just
Andre's just a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah. So, you know, we're talking about Mason not turning the ball over. We're talking about, you know, the matchups with the Bills offense versus Steelers defense. But really what it boils down to is Steelers got to run the football. And we think this is like an opportune matchup. I know the Steelers haven't been playing, you know, maybe the best quality as far as the quarterbacks they've been facing as of late. But I mean, let's face it, a lot of the teams they played this year have been playoff teams or made the playoffs. And then the Cincinnati Bengals won 9 games, and even with Jake Browning. So they've faced some quality competition. I know the Ravens were sitting some guys that could win anyway in the monsoon, particularly. They're all pros. Excuse me, I want to clear my throat. But the Buffalo Bills, defensively, they're in the middle of the pack. They give up about 110 yards defensively on the ground, and the Steelers are at 115. So that's right there, like around the average or middle of the league. Steelers give up a lot more passing wise, 227 to Buffalo's 196. Whereas the real contrarian stuff here is Buffalo on offense. Because points scored, 26.5 points scored to the Steelers, almost scoring 18 per game, which is still very low. And it's a large average. If you take it over the last few weeks, 30-ish, and then, you know, like 17 or whatever they got, we would have begged for 17, 18 points in a game prior to the last 3 weeks before the playoffs here. They're not exactly equal opportunity. Steelers are plus 11, which is 3rd in the league. Buffalo Bills are a +2, which is 12th in the league when it comes to takeaway differential. So they still get it on the plus side of the ball. However, I'd be remiss to note as well that Josh Allen's 29 touchdowns this season have come with 18 interceptions. I got to wonder if I don't know if he led the league again. I got to go and look. I have to imagine that's got to be close because there was a lot of backup quarterbacks that ended up playing in the NFL this season, so it'd be interesting. He's also run for 445 yards. But back to the head-to-head matchups, the Steelers, 186 pass yards per game to 244 with Buffalo. Steelers are a lot more in tune with that over the last 3 weeks with Mason Rudolph, of course. I think they're over 700 some yards passing if I go back and look. 118 on the ground for the Steelers versus Buffalo with 130 over the course of the season. Over the last, if we want to say last 3-4 games for the Buffalo Bills, let me see where they've been as far as points. So they put up 31 on the Dallas Cowboys, 24 on the Chargers, 27 on the Patriots, 21 on the Dolphins. That includes games of 85 passing yards against the Cowboys, 230, 154, and then they laid it on the Dolphins last week with 345. Running the football, they were much more effective against the Cowboys, 266, and they went over topped 100 in each of the next 3 games there too, 105, 127, 128. So they are built to move the football. They did turn the ball over a number of times, even in those victories, 3 times against the Chargers and also 3 times against the Miami Dolphins. So this team does like to give the ball away, and they have 4 games with 2 turnovers, 2 with 3, and 2 with 4 in 8 games, multiple turnovers this year, nearly half of the game. So if the Steelers can play, it's always mistake-free football, what the quarterback does, and no penalties, right? No penalties, no turnovers, quarterback driven, right?
No dumb penalties. I mean, they're, something just opportune times, right? No penalties at inopportune times. They can't turn the ball over. The Steelers can't turn the ball over, right? They have to play mistake-free football, as we were saying, and they have to stay with the plan. If they can't run the ball, there's going to be trouble. But they have to stick with it, right? The defense has to keep them in the game so that they can continue to try and pound the rock, that they can run the ball. Eventually, the defense on the Buffalo side will loosen up, and some of that stuff will open. But it is also they have to take advantage. If Buffalo is stacking the box, they're going to have to take that challenge, and they're going to have to let Mason throw the ball some. They haven't been hesitant to do that, right? So I'm not worried about that. Mason has talked about it. I'm going to take what they give me. And that is the mentality they have to do, right? They have to take what the defense is giving them and make the best of those scenarios and play a style that is probably more conservative than aggressive, but at the same time, take the aggressive shot when it's warranted, right?
Absolutely. So how do we really feel about this game, Brian? I'm with TJ, I feel like it's a moving train. This team has gone in and won in Buffalo, and Mason was there, like on the side. He saw it. You know what I mean? Kenny's experience there, not as great, right? And it's his first real start as a rookie the year before. So it's another reason why you don't want to throw him out there. Tomlin staying with the hot hand. He's getting some of these guys back. He saw what Eric Rowe could do. I'm very curious how they deploy Rowe. Rowe's the big one. Miles Jack, I think you're using him by default with Michael Walker. You don't have a choice. The other transaction move, we've talked about areas improved. Now, it's like quarterback driven. Mason, having these 100+ quarterback ratings, not turning the ball over, but the field position battle, which is ever more important with Buffalo and Presley Harvin. And they just signed Brad Wing back. And you're like, oh.
What is going to happen? Yeah. Is Brad Wing going to be your punter in Buffalo, or is it going to be Presley Harvin? They're not going to have them both on the 53, right? So,
well, they could now it becomes interesting who they elevate, because now DeMonte Casey, let me find the transaction wire real quick.
Right, they have a roster exception or something like that. I don't understand all that crap.
It's the two. So okay, so Brad Wing is on the practice squad. They released Trace McSorley. A lot of people were like, why not Trubisky? Come on, it's the business of football. And if it really came down to emergency quarterback, do you want Trace McSorley in at Buffalo? I'll still maybe take safe Mitch dumping the ball off if 2 guys get hurt, as opposed to maybe McSorley just running for his life entirely. Well, maybe not.
And we lose.
Do I have a coin? Yeah, you know what? Here we go.
Is in, forget it. But I mean, if Trace is in, we lose too.
Yeah, so, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Like, at that point, you just go, take the loss and walk away.
Yeah. DeMonte Casey was it's restored to the active roster from suspension, with Trenton Thompson going to the reserve and injured list. So as I look at the roster, and the Steelers are going to have to make another transaction here, my friend, because let's see, Luke Barku, Jack Coletto, Jalen Elliott, Braden Fajoko, Des Fitzpatrick. Okay, Miles Jack, Anthony McFarland, Denzel Mims. Forgot about him. Eric Rowe, Jalen Smith. Okay, Brad Wing. There's 4 guys on the practice squad there, and you could elevate 2. Now you're allowed to elevate as much through the playoffs. There's the 2 exemptions or whatever during the regular season. That's all you get. So if they went to use like Rowe or Jack, I think again, you have to sign them, move them up to you have to do all the rigmarole, the business end of it. active roster versus not active roster, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, when you sign guys off of one practice squad, move them over. Let me look at this again, because I thought there may have been an additional hop there, even with Rowe, but I'm not entirely sure how many times this happened. No, that happened with Elijah Riley. Okay, maybe not. Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez was the other one. Right. Practice squad to active rosters. So keeping that in mind, if Brad Wing's going to play for Presley Harvin, somebody either needs to be cut entirely to move him to the 53, or somebody else to get one of those linebackers moved up. There needs to be another transaction, and just, it piques my curiosity as to who that could be, because I don't think Rowe is replaceable. And the easiest one, do you think anyone's picking up Harvin off the pile anywhere? Nah. No. So if he has a bad week of practice, and they've been practicing at Heinz Field because the practice facility fields have been just junk, slopped up, he's out in some elements right now. If he's exhibiting the inconsistency, obviously they made this move, and I thought it was bold, stubborn. That's what I was beginning to say before. Stubborn Tomlin is all of a sudden not being as stubborn. And I hear the people that say, hey, he had the right quarterback on the roster the whole time, and he didn't play him. Look, they re-signed Mason Rudolph twice. You don't re-sign a guy if you don't like him or don't want him on the roster. You look for somebody else who you feel is better, that's an improvement, that offers something different to this team. So they obviously thought something, at least, of Mason Rudolph. The rest of the experience, veteran, whatever, money, all that comes into play as to why Mitch Trubisky was in there first. And yeah, you pretty much had to hold a gun to Tomlin's head to get him to finally put Mason in. And now he's rolling with it. And Mason's giving him plenty reason. And Mason knows Mason's career from here on through. And then if we have a next year with Mason, and maybe even a year after Mason, he's got to keep putting up these kind of games. He's going to be looking over his shoulder the entire time, as will Kenny Pickett going forward too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all this hopefully in 4 or 5 weeks. But, when the season is truly over, notice I said 5 weeks from now.
But, I did. I picked up on that. But my point was, Tomlin has all of a sudden, for all the criticism that he gets, Bill Belichick's out in New England, Mike Vrabel's out in Tennessee, and here we are. We're in a wild card with 3 different quarterbacks and all this other crap going on, and people are just they're gonna criticize other decisions. Just be happy you're here in this weird season.
I called Dane out often, the guy on Twitter, under arrest on. He's been tweeting today, just give me a playoff win and all this goes away. And the answer, that's the truth. Winning solves everything, right? They win this game, all of a sudden not all, because some people are as stubborn as Tomlin, and they will be as stubborn in their negative views as anything else. But 90% of the complaints goes away because they won a playoff game, right? They win 2 playoff games, even more goes away. They get into the AFC Championship game, they go to the Super Bowl, any of those things happen, everybody shuts up for a little while.
One other person we haven't been talking about, and particularly with this coaching staff, we've talked about various things with, Presley Harvin. We're talking about how they might make this transition to Brad Wing. Talking about Chris Boswell, the punt and kick or whatever block gods that you got, particularly Miles Killebrew. And then Godwin Igwebuike. I think I got that right this time. And him laying out in Baltimore and touching ball, make sure he was out of bounds. And and Brian, what you doing there? Did you get a big wad of gum?
I got a big wad of bubble gum in my mouth.
Yeah, Danny Smith has been incredible, I think. And he deserves a lot more credit than anybody's been given probably over the years. And of course, he's got a big wad of gum that he's always chewing, and he walks around like 30 miles around St. Vincent's College during training camp. But really, really you should think about the job that he's been getting done. We know even with Terrell Austin that Mike Tomlin's probably got his fingerprints on the defense heavily. And when you see the coaches and come and go and stuff, and you're talking about Bill Belichick and all these other guys, Mike Vrabel and that going, it's like, man, I hope Tomlin isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Win, lose, or draw, what they've been able to accomplish and what he's able to get out of guys, convince players to come off of the couch and play football, inspired football like an Eric Rowe or a Miles Jack, and get this team into the postseason. It's quite incredible. So hats off to the entire coaching staff, and especially Danny Smith. And let's see. You never know. You might get that special teams. Maybe Calvin Austin finally breaks one, because as Flash has been tweeting out, does he seem like, yeah, he's got that like award for the almost going to do it type of guy. And he seems like he's just so close every single time, but just gets tripped by his shoelaces.
The worst compliment I can give, because it's not a compliment. He's making me remember Ryan Switzer.
Oh, well, at least he isn't making you remember Gunnar Olszewski.
No, at least he's not fumbling the ball. Yeah, he's
or
not,
fair catching
he's not muffing punts and kicks. But the run around, the like back and forth. I ran 700 yards and I got 2 feet.
I don't know, man. He's been a little better than that. He's quick as a hiccup, and
Scott, he is, and he nearly did. He really did nearly break one in that last game. But it's just sometimes, I don't know. It was like the last game where I just felt like going, wait a minute, is somebody coaching every member of this team to run backwards instead of just getting a first down? I was ready to go and kick Najee in the ass.
Forward, just forward.
Go forward. Stop with the trying to get on the, just go and get the first down. Oh my God. So much vulgarity spewed out of the top of our house at that point in time. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that, because they won.
Thankfully, I mean, those are big moments in time where you lose a few yards here or there. Like, I get Deontay. Deontay breaks more tackles than just about anybody, and so does Najee Harris. I think where that comes from is just their uncanny ability to make people miss, and then they start to like run backwards a little bit. George Pickens, who now has the Steelers franchise record for yards per catch in a season, don't run backwards. He's a leaner, smaller guy that when you grab him by his ankle, he's probably going to go dip, dip, and fall, and then he's down by contact. Najee, guy's got some ham hocks on him, so I'll probably give him a little more benefit of the doubt. And I think Deontay Johnson, what's his like real knack there? Does he have like a little tiny skinny waist? Is he like a size 22 waist or something? There's something where the guy's like, I swear, a lot of people like criticize the NFL and say they're turning it into flag football. I'd still defy you to grab a flag off of some guys like a Deontay Johnson. You probably wouldn't be able to. They're just like so elusive that you need to like spear them. You know what I mean? So I don't always fault them, but yes, every yard, every inch is critical. It will be in this game. Is there any stone we left uncovered? I don't know. I don't want to speculate off season right now. We are in the tournament.
Oh no, we're too early. 5 weeks from now, we can speculate about the off season. Too early right now.
Yeah, 5 weeks. 5 weeks. If somebody has not gotten that joke, that's after the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's heading into the UFL season, which is the worst. Like, let's take 2 defunct leagues and reborn, right? XFL and USFL. And fair, now
Zach watched that crap. You watched that crap. I did not watch any.
Now
of
let's
crap.
Merge them. I like the idea. I don't like competing spring leagues. I like the idea of somewhere for someone to refine their skills, put something on tape, and maybe get picked up. Otherwise, where they wouldn't have. Because I do think there's a lot of talented pro football players who do fall through the cracks. We're just talking about Brock Purdy. We're just talking about how Mason Rudolph was a 3rd-round pick that he didn't get the opportunity. Tom Brady doesn't get an opportunity unless Drew Bledsoe gets hurt, et cetera, et cetera. It goes down. It's all about, the not for long league. So I like it. I just don't like that the UFL was also a defunct league. So they're using like another, I get it. It's the United or Unified, but they're starting late too. I'm not going to jump on that. But basically, by the time you're watching that, we should be hopefully talking Tomlin contract extension and, having 2 quarterbacks coming to camp with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett, which I think is the best scenario looking forward. I say in this game, Brian, even if Mason struggles a little early, I don't think you could bench him. I know there'll be some people that are really hot on Twitter. They were already bitching about Peacock before they were thinking Miami was going to beat Buffalo. They already had stamped the Steelers' passport to go to Kansas City, and I'm kind of glad that it's not Kansas City.
We wouldn't have gone if it was in Kansas City.
I know. Well, I may have considered that.
I would not have gone in Kansas.
Tina's out that way, but she's snowed in right now.
Yeah, but I'm not. No, I'm not going to Kansas City. I can't make that drive.
But would you not be enticed by buffalo wings versus barbecue, my friend? Buffalo wings versus barbecue.
I like wings better.
Okay.
I like hot stuff.
Well, I didn't say the buffalo sauce. I meant like buffalo wings. It refers to like they come off of a buffalo, so they're larger, right?
I've never seen a buffalo with.
That's off the Buffalo Wild Wings. They have a little buffalo with wings.
I know. I enjoyed that commercial where he's like, "What if you just stomped on him and then ran over him again and stomped on him again and then said, 'Oh, I'm sorry,' and then stomped on him again."
Well, for 2%ers before we close, we're talking commercials. There's one that's out right now for Chewy, I believe, and the cat is sitting there with other family members. Someone has passed away, and the executor of the will is now reading what everyone's been left. And the one guy gets a board game, and then the cat is sitting there just, chilling. And they leave the cat in perpetuity or whatever supplies from Chewy. Food and everything else, and they're like, just cut to the chase. Who got the beach house? It's like people that are uninterested, didn't love their dad, looking out the window of the place, and also live. I don't know what the name of the cat was. Mr. Wiggles also gets the beach house. This is absurd. And he looks over at the one guy and says something, but you got a board game. I thought it was pretty good, and I butchered it and ruined the punchline for anyone who hasn't seen it. But if you haven't, go check that one out. This will do it for us. Hopefully not the last pregame show that we end up having here, Brian. One more thing. Some people feel
wood to knock on.
I'll knock twice, a couple times for you. Make the dogs start barking and running around, right? Here's one for you. Last thought. This is good for the 2%ers too. This is football Steelers related. Hold on to your seats. There are people that they were saying or trying to draw similarities and comparisons to the Super Bowl 40 team, 2005 season, Jerome Bettis' last ride. They get in as the 6th seed, got hot late. I don't know, man. I don't see it the same way. I just don't know that the talent level. I would agree if there wasn't the same, like you're minus TJ Watt, you're minus, Holcomb and Alexander. Like that makes it hard for me to kind of draw those comparisons, but I see the other, and Ben Roethlisberger, obviously.
This is the only thing that's similar. They're in the 7 seed,
and they're going to have to all win on the road.
Stop the rest of the comparisons. Yes, you have to go on the road every game. Yes, okay, that's it. And the teams are totally different teams. And let me be clear, I don't dislike this team right now. They're playing very gutty, but they do not have the caliber of talent that other team had. Not right now.
Totally.
Not with TJ out, not with Holcomb out, they just don't.
Mika is going to have to play the game of a lifetime, and hopefully he gets to be him or Pat Pete. They get to be the football players in this game. I think that their ability to play the game, I think it might shine in this environment, and we will see. I was going to look at one more. Let me see if I can find the passing stats. You all players in this category. Wow, Sam Howell led the league in pass attempts. Can you imagine that, dude? He just got a bunch of people fired. Remember, we were talking about this during the draft process, and you were like, keep him far, far away from this franchise.
Yes, I will.
I wanted to see, that's our guy. I wanted to see who was leading the NFL in interceptions. Josh Allen is second with 18, 29 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. First with 21, which matches the number of touchdowns he threw, Sam Howell. Man, it was pretty close there. Quarterback play, it's really tough to say. There's a lot of, 14 interceptions here, there. I'm looking at the guys who lead, and it's like Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff. Mostly the guys that were healthy throughout the season, because I don't even know how many quarterbacks when you go down this list. I wonder how many quarterbacks have thrown Let's see. How many have thrown at least
287?
Okay, that's not the number at all. This is Matt's with Joe. 48 quarterbacks, with Mitch Trubisky being the last on this list with 107 attempts, have thrown at least 100 pass attempts this season. 48. With 32 NFL teams, that means you had about another 50. Yeah.
40. Yeah, see,
you're say
now
50%?
put mine up. Get rid of Mass with Joe. No, because you screwed it up.
Yeah.
Mass with Brian, because I got the number right. 16.
We got fancy graphics for that. Boom, just transition. Okay. That was quick. You're like Rain Man over there. Anyways, that'll do it for us, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave a rating or review wherever you may be watching or listening. Thank you all to all of our followers and supporters that are out there. Don't forget we have a website too. It's stillcityunderground.com. You can find us on social media and all the places that voiceover thing does at the end, as well as myself and Brian. Our taglines have been up the entire time. Joe_Kuzma and @Cannons Don't Fun over on X, formerly known as Twitter. And here we go.
If you're in Buffalo, come find us in Buffalo, and Joe will give you his hat.
No. And it's funny you mentioned this hat specifically, because this is the one I was thinking of wearing, because, it kind of goes with home and away and everything else. I just cleaned this daddy. You know what I mean? Like this, I got this like meticulously clean. And I'm like, do I even want to? It's going to snow. It's going to be ugly in Buffalo. Do I want to wear this hat around like the Bills Mafia or whatever? We might be hanging and banging with some of that. Not for long, because I don't want to be out in the cold longer than I need to be. So I'm not adverse. I'm not a fair weather fan, but Buffalo is a whole different animal. And if you've never been in it, you just hope some of these guys aren't like warm weather players or whatever like that. But anyways, Brian, that'll do it for us, my friend. Let's put a ball on the show. Until next time, folks, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.